And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. Or go to the app, and they will bring it right to your front door. Anywhere, pretty much anywhere, inside the 275 loop. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your order. Hi, Aaron.
Yo,
How you doing, buddy?
I'm happy that the Reds finally made a competent move and brought the best prospect in the entire farm league up.
The best
You're,
prospect in all of baseball. Like,
I think you,
there's.
I think you, I think you just turned volume on.
I turned it off. I was
All
actually
right.
switching over. I'm getting late game in Zelda, so
Okay.
I've been kind of going back and forth between the Reds, like anticipating with the on following
Statcast.
online,
Yeah.
seeing about when Elly De La Cruz is gonna come up to bat, and then I switch back to the Reds, and then I play Zelda in between.
Okay. Just
Speaking of
get the app
what?
on your phone and watch it on your phone while you're.
Yeah, but I like having it on like the I don't if I don't have to watch on the computer screen, I watch. I mean, I paid a lot of money for this TV that's in my office.
All right.
I prefer to watch there, right? Is that fair? We're gonna get an Ellie at bat here. 8-6 Reds trail the Dodgers in the eighth inning. We're gonna get Ellie either with somebody on or with two outs, down two in the eighth. So that is our topic for the day.
Possible heroics.
That is our topic for the day. There has been a lot of fanfare over going back. Like Jay Bruce was the number one prospect in baseball. There was a lot of hype over that. Joe Burrow, number one pick. Carson Palmer, number one pick. Like, we have experienced some of this in this town. There have been a few Bearcats that kind of enter this realm of, are they going to be as good as the hype that surrounds them?
Well, and I think right now, even going into this football season, the hype has already started around young Dante Corleone, as
Yeah, I mean,
PFF's raving about him already with a
to
write
be
up on
fair,
him.
they have to. He's their highest graded returning. He was their highest graded defender in the country last year, and he returns this year. So, if you have any belief in your system, right, then you have to hype the guy up.
Yeah, well,
Rightfully so.
it's like I said, it's definitely there's definitely some hype around the Godfather going into this season though, and it boosters the just crazy defensive line that this team is bringing back. I think that it's definitely the deepest position.
It's up there for sure.
You
It's up
think
there
that
for sure.
you think it's up there? You don't think? I think it's inarguably the deepest position defensive line.
There's still a lot of. There's still enough unproven, like,
In depth, you mean? Or
yeah,
just
like on the depth part to say like it's by far the, like, at the top. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's the most accomplished position group at the top. Not even a question.
sure.
Depth, like, Watley still has to prove he's ready to be, and I think he can, but he's got to prove it. You need to see Dom Perry stay healthy, which he struggled with last year. Unfortunately, he had a medical condition that, that is what it is. Ooh, got him
I know.
looking. Slider.
Oh, you're ahead of
That's
me.
all right. That's all right. But excitement level, like, we haven't had this much excitement for a guy at UC in, I don't know, 18 months, a year and a half. Like, Sauce going into his junior season, he hadn't allowed a touchdown. He was one of the highest graded players on PFF. There were projections that he was, going to be a first round pick. he ended up taking that even to another level during that season. But like, I think Sauce is a pretty fair comparison to Elly, because when you looked at Sauce as a corner, he looks like an alien. He looks like, again, he looks like you created him. All that you could reasonably, like you said to me before the show, like you went into NCAA college football, the video game, and you created like he maxed out everything. 6'3", 6'6" wingspan, elite speed. He can tackle, he can cover, he can blitz, he can like
man and zone.
Yeah. Like, so when we're talking about the crazy thing is, like, when we're talking about when has Cincinnati had something like Elly and his ascension into the major leagues, like, we just had it. And it was the best, I've said, the most dominant player
for sure.
History of UC football was Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Great story by Justin Williams on Sauce today as well. Go check that out. But other than Sauce, like it's pretty thin football wise. Like maybe Gunnar Keel when he first came in, like for a long time he was the number one quarterback in that class. Obviously, he had some commitment stuff and had some, didn't work out at his first stop things. But like when he got here, there was still a lot of like novelty to Gunnar Keel. And in that first year, when he had Chris Moore and Johnny Holmes, he was electric that first year.
What about, and I know it's not a sexy position, but what about James Hudson?
Potential, but I don't think people were like frothing at the mouth to see James Hudson play left tackle.
I was, especially.
You're weird.
I am sure, but especially with the way that whole situation went down and the way that Michigan played the hand.
Yeah, but there was no guarantee that like he had barely played tackle at Michigan. Like he was a defensive lineman most of his high school days. So
if Corey had come here straight from high school, I think you would have seen
Corey
some of that.
Would have been one. Yeah, that's fair.
I think you would have seen that hype around Corey, and unfortunately, the way that all went, it wasn't the same fanfare.
Well, actually, now that we did kind of see this with the prospect that everybody wanted and everybody got, and then it didn't go, at least the first look.
Couple
and
games.
what we found out after the season is that he hurt his shoulder in the USF game.
But we're talking about Evan Prater.
Yeah. I mean, that caused the whole Ben Bryant shenanigans. Like, if it's not for Evan Prater, if Brady Lichtenberg was behind Ben Bryant, and this is not a shot at Brady, this is Cincinnati.
It's right. It's a hometown guy, the highest rated recruit in program history still.
So is this a cautionary tale for Elly De La Cruz that it's not, there's not a guarantee. It's not, just because he's a cheat code, because he literally is everything maxed out.
He had a grounder that went 112 or something stupid, 109.
Yeah.
Come on.
To second base.
He's a guarantee. He's a lock. He is.
Well, here's the thing with Elly. The ceiling is astronomical. The floor is already like stories up. Because even if it's not, a generational talent, he's going to be very, very good. Very, very good. Like the floor for Elly is Jay Bruce. And that was Jay Bruce had a great career.
I had that in my head, but I didn't want to say it.
That's his floor. That's barring injury, something crazy. But if he just plays a normal career, the worst he's going to be is Jay Bruce, who's going to be a Hall of Fame Red.
Except if he's a shortstop, he's elevated higher than Jay Bruce because it's a more premier position than an outfielder.
Sure. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying in general terms.
So let's switch. I was going to say, let's switch gears to basketball. So you had some names that you brought up in the pre-show as we were kind of just like workshopping this whole idea. And the first one that you said
Lance.
that there was one that you said jumped
The
out
most
page.
recent is Lance.
Okay.
The most recent is Lance. Lance was like, if you followed recruiting, if you followed basketball in that window, Lance was the next big thing. He as a freshman, he put it on OJ Mayo, or like at least like was as good as OJ Mayo in a showcase event. The hype around Lance, a Brooklyn kid, the Born Ready nickname. He had a documentary crew following him around in high school, Rucker Park. Like he was. Now he did some dumb shit that damaged his brand and probably was the ultimate reason he ended up at Cincinnati. But Lance was bright lights, big city, like the brightest lights, the biggest city, New York City prep school star. Well, that still meant something. Doesn't mean what it used to, but it used to mean something.
Yeah. Going back further, I'm stealing yours, but just because I think he's even bigger than Lance was. But DeMar, I mean, when he got here,
he was. So they opened different doors. DeMar was big time. Like DeMar was really the first, like 6'9", thin, shooting guard like type.
DeMar is a prototypical 3-4 wing in the NBA now. Like he was ahead of his time.
No, but DeMar was a 2. That was what was crazy about DeMar. DeMar was a 6'9" shooting guard. Like that's wild. That didn't exist. That again in 1999, that was an alien. That you didn't have 6'9" guys that could handle and shoot and put it on the deck and get to the rim. Like DeMar set the stage for Kevin Durant. Like Kevin Durant, this is like real. Kevin Durant watched DeMar and went, I want to be that. We talked to James White, who said, I grew up wanting to be DeMar.
And now they're like best friends.
Yeah, they're great friends. Yeah. So, yeah, DeMar was an alien. DeMar was one that, Kenyon's senior year.
Oh, yeah.
The hype around that was like after he had the great summer and he had already been, one of the best defensive players in the country. Kenyon, though, built over that senior year more so than like going into that year. Everybody was like, he is the national player of the year. They might have thought All-American level, he's going to be one of Hug's, cornerstones. But the hype around Kenyon's senior year was real. And then, I mean, the ultimate. I can't imagine what it was like to watch Oscar. I can't imagine.
Well, if you weren't regional during that time, you had to read about it in the newspaper.
Yeah, but he was going all over the country. Like, it's still one of my favorite UC stories of all time. Chuck Mashock would always talk about the time him and Oscar scored 56 points at Madison Square Garden.
And Chuck had 0.
But they were roommates. So that was the tie. Like me and my roommate scored 56 points at Madison Square Garden. That's how Chuck would tell that story. It's still one of the funniest like anecdotes of all, because who would have thought Chuck was Oscar's roommate? If you knew Chuck, like it just, you wouldn't make that connection that those two were as tight as they were. But
Tapping back into a show that we did last week, I guess, where we talked about how quickly Cincinnati, if they fail early in the Big 12, how quickly they could fall behind. Here's how quick it took the Reds to sell. You just announced Elly De La Cruz was coming up, and they broke the ticket buying website.
Yeah. This town, if you fall out of contention, if you're not relevant, they will just they'll pay attention to you, but they're not. I've talked about this with the Reds. Like for the past 10 plus years, I've been doing AAU stuff in April and May. So it limits my ability to be like dialed into the Reds. I'll watch during the week when I'm not on the road. But how interested I am in June is almost exclusively determined by their success level in April and May.
This year, I think it's going to be a little different because I'm interested in just seeing what these guys do. All these young guns, what can they do?
McCain, gotcha, Herbie. Matt McCain, idiot. Elly, Spencer Steer, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Abbott looked great yesterday. Hunter Green,
Graham,
Ashcraft. He's rough lately. But and
Alexis Diaz.
Now they're interesting, and you want to kind of follow along.
Joey's coming back soon.
In this town, if you can be interesting, everybody will jump on board. But if you're not interesting, it's crickets pretty quick. I mean, Aaron, this is a Reds team that was drawing record low attendance numbers like 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Yeah. And now they broke the ticket website today. That's how fast it can change. We'll see if the Bearcats can keep up. We'll see you tomorrow night. The BCJ podcast, another nightcap, and heading into the weekend, middle of the week, hump day. This is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!